Yo guys, boy Ethan, hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to another vlog. Not gonna talk a whole lot because it's not like you're here to watch me or listen to me talk in the intro. You're just here for some hands, but it's December 10th, and I haven't played a whole lot of live poker recently. This is only going to be my second session this month. So, haven't been playing a whole lot. Second session in 10 days seems a little bit less than what I usually would play, but who knows. Anyways, don't feel like playing, but we're gonna play today. Try to run things up at the 1-3, probably, maybe 2-5, probably 1-3. Anyways, we're gonna hop on the tables, get in some hands. Let's get in the action. The first thing we'll go over, we have ace-5 of diamonds on the small blind, and here sitting with about $340. We've chipped up a little bit, won a few small pots, nothing too significant. Here, the button opens up the action to $10, and here out of position with a suited ace, suited real ace, pretty good candidate to 3-bet light here. So I go ahead 3-bet to $35, and the button makes the call. So we're off to a flop, heads up, out of position. The flop comes king, 10, jack, 2 diamonds out there. So overall, a pretty decent flop for our perceived range and also our actual hand as well. I take this opportunity to c-bet $40, and he goes ahead and makes the call. We're off to a turn. The turn is pretty good. It is the queen of clubs. So we got the nuts, Broadway straight, and got the redraw to the nut flush as well. So basically, pretty much the only perfect card I could ask for. In terms of what can call a turn bet, really not a whole lot besides ace-x holding. So since he covers me and the pot is, you know, fairly significant now, I go ahead and go for the overbet shove of $265 total. Really going for max value here, as in just trying to free roll. I think not really a whole lot would call this turn bet anyways if I bet a normal amount. So here I think all ace-x holdings are going to have to call, and we're free rolling to a turn. He tosses in a chip and calls, so we're pretty confident in this spot that we probably have the best hand. We're probably chopping. So we're going to a river, which is the queen of diamonds. Really great card, nut flush. Not too concerned about any boat possibilities. Not necessarily, I don't think. Because I think the jam would definitely fold away any 2-pair combos anyways. So I go ahead and show, and he shows ace-jack of hearts for the straight. So we get there with the redraw, and we pick up a pretty big pot, doubling up very early on into the session. Next hand, we have ace-7 of clubs in middle position. There's 2 limpers to me, and here I can either decide to put in some aggression and raise, or limp this here. Totally fine with either line. I decided to go ahead and put in the raise to $18. Fairly active table. Let's just raise and try to ISO out, because a bunch of limpers would come along behind us. The player to my right, who is super active, super passive, makes the call, and we're going heads up to a flop. The flop comes 7 high. It's 7-5-3 rainbow, so pretty much a pretty great board for us. I go ahead and c-bet $15, pretty small. Just trying to get basically middle pairs, random draws to go ahead and make the call, and which he does. He calls the 15. We're off to a turn, which is a deuce. Once again, he checks. Here, I'm actually going to bet a little bit bigger here. Any 4 is open-ended and really not a card that changes a whole lot. So with top pair, top kicker, with ace-7, I go ahead and bet $50, and he doesn't think too long before making the call here. When he calls the 50, it really narrows his range a ton. Not really putting him on some random 2-pair combo hands like 7-5 or 3-5, but mainly just kind of a hand more like 4-5 maybe, that kind of floated on the flop with middle pair and turned some equity. So let's see what happens on the river. The river is another deuce, so basically an absolute brick, and he checks once again, and I just know that I'm good here, so I'm trying to go for thin value. I go ahead with the sizing of $75. Looking back, probably a little bit too bigger, because he does fold. If I'm putting him on those hands like 4-5 or a weak 7, it's kind of hard for him to call a whole $75 with a pair of 7s, I think. Anyways, he folds face up, 4-5 of diamonds, so we were pretty correct with our assessment in our large turn bet. So I mean, we priced him in there. Probably could have bet smaller, maybe a small tiny down bet of $40 to get some additional value from him, but to be very thin if he called that 40 with a pair of 5s anyways. But anyways, that's what happened. Next hand, we have 6-7 of hearts in the cutoff, and the hijack, player to my right, very passive, very active. He just goes ahead and open limps. I raise the 15, and the hijack is the only caller here. So once again, same player from last hand. We're going heads up, and we're in position. The flop is pretty good for us. It's 3-4 jack 2 hearts out there, and we flop the straight flush draw, which is always a pretty good board for us. He checks, and here just going to bet a little bit larger. I bet $20, and he makes the call. So once again, let's try to improve, see what happens. The turn is the 5 of clubs, so not the straight flush that we're looking for, but we definitely turn the nuts here with the gutter ball. He checks, and here going to size up once again. Let's go for value. Let's try to charge 1 pair hands who are probably going to have to call here. It's very disguised nut straight here that I got going on for me. I bet $55, and without a whole lot of thinking, he calls pretty quickly once again. So we are going to a river. The river is a deuce, so here still sitting with the nuts, but so it's not really the best card in the world, because I guess 1 pair hands like a Jack X kind of holding would definitely have to fold, and I can't really get a whole lot of value from it. But if he was going for the nut flush draw, then, I mean, he's got the straight, the bottom end of the straight, and I'm feeling pretty confident get a ton of value from that. So here, it was very much in between. I actually, when he checks to me, I go ahead and bet a bigger sizing of $175. I think all Jack X hands are going to have to fold regardless. And if he does have an ace, I'm getting snap called immediately. So I like my pot bet. I like my pot size bet here. Unfortunately, he folds. He folds face up. He really likes to show a lot of information here. He folds Queen Jack of Hearts face up, so he also had the board pretty locked up there. And lucky for us, we hit one of our 4 outs. So once again, just running really good here in this spot and moving on. Next spot, pocket 7s in the small blinds, and there's a limper and then a cutoff who raises things up to $11. The button makes the call, and the small blind and the big blind, myself and the big blind, makes the call, and the limper folds. That's just weird. But anyways, we're going multi-way to a flop 4 ways. The flop comes 7-9 Jack Rainbow. And here I actually decided to take a different line and actually donk lead here on a fairly connected board and multi-way. Don't want this checking through, and I definitely want to get value. Here you think I'd get some value from Jack X hands, some Queen 10 hands. There's a lot going on for other players here, so I go ahead and bet $30, and everyone folds. Unfortunate there, couldn't get any value with bottom set, but sometimes gotta mix in the donk lead sometimes. This hand, I was put in a really interesting and weird spot, so let's go over it. Pocket 9s in the hijack. A very super passive player to my right, who's always been open limping and such. He raises things up to $10. Haven't seen him raise like ever in this session, so very interesting spot here with pocket 9s. I'm not going to 3-bet him. There's no way I'm ever 3-betting him. I go ahead and just flat. Then the cutoff, the player to my direct left, also super passive, 3 bets. 3 bets to $25. He is also, I've never seen him raise once. I think this might have been the first time in like 3 hours I've been playing with these 2 players that they've raised at all. So very interesting dynamics going on here. 2 of the most passive players at the table raising pre-flop. Doesn't happen ever. So the player to my right makes the call of $25, $15 more, and obviously I'm not going anywhere with pocket 9s. I go ahead and call 15 more as well. So we are off to a flop 3 ways. The flop comes 3-3-4, 2 spades out there, and when action checks to me, obviously just going to check. I don't think I'm really ahead here ever, given 2 passive players raising. So I check, and action actually ends up checking around. The 3-better checks it back. We're off to a turn, which is the 6 of spades, so the spade draw gets there, and the player to my right once again checks to me. When all of this action is occurring, I mean, they're so aggressive pre-flop, and now they're just checking on the flop. It seems like maybe I'm ahead of ace-king, ace-king, ace-queen, ace-king, hands like that. That's really it. So here, pocket 9s, I'm just going to charge some spade draws and see what happens. I go ahead and throw out a bet of $35. The player to my left calls, and so does the player to my right. So I'm not really sure what is happening here. I expected at least one person to call, but not both players. So definitely not really too confident with my hand anymore. So we're going to go to a river, which is another 4. Not a card that I think changes anything. The spade draws miss, and the player to my right checks. I'm just going to check with pocket 9s, thinking that I've got a ton of showdown value, and the 3-better also checks. And the low jack, the player to my right, shows 2 red 10s, pocket 10s, and he's good. So the player to my left ended up having ace-king, and we were just 1 pair too little. 1 pair too shy. We were just one pair off. We were just one, I don't even know. We were just not that good. We were just we just had second best there, and thought it was an interesting spot. Next thing we'll go over, we have pocket tens in the small blind, and there's two limpers to me here. Definitely going to be raising, although don't love that I'm in the small blind, but here obviously too strong to just flat. Raised to $20, and the big blind 3-bets to $55. The limpers fold and actions onto me. This is a pretty gross spot because just this player does not 3-bet. He literally only has a premium hand at this point, and I literally don't put ace queen in this 3-betting range, just given the action, given just how he's been playing so far. So I don't love this situation, but I think I'm just basically set mining at this point. I feel like I'm set mining because I just genuinely feel like I'm behind here. So for $35 more, let's go with it. Let's try to set mine and see what happens. So I just make the call, and we're off to a flop. The flop comes 9-8-3, 2 clubs out there. Here, I check. Although I have an overpair, I just don't feel confident about it. When I check to him, he hesitates for a while, or a little bit, or just enough where it just seemed like he was weak. He bets $55, and given that tell, seemed like he was weak just by his hesitation of trying to bet and just betting such a small amount. I mean, you'd think that overpairs would bet larger to charge draws and just get his stack in because he's pretty short. Behind this $55 bet is only about $110. So here I'm kind of caught in between. I feel like I definitely can't fold now given what I saw, but I don't want to raise and rip it all in and be wrong. So I'm just going to flap the $55 right now, evaluate turns and rivers, and see what happens. So I call the 55, and we're off to a turn, which is the deuce of spades. I check here, just really, I don't really have an idea of where I'm at just yet, and he immediately checks it back. Like, it could not have been a quicker snap check. So obviously I am definitely ahead now given that action. So we're feeling pretty confident. Let's just try to fade an ace or a king or something like that. And the river is a king of clubs. So club draw gets there. He gets there with top pair, like most likely, and we're feeling pretty shitty. I check with pocket tens thinking I was super ahead on the turn, but obviously not anymore. He checks it back and shows ace king offsuit. So that was what we were up against. I think there's some merit to leading out on the turn and just jamming it all in. I'm not really sure. Obviously, I just think that you gotta be balanced sometimes, and I just couldn't fold on the flop, and he just got there.
Alright, overall, not a bad session. Everything went fairly smooth today. Just 4 hours, didn't play for too long. I don't know, just getting back into the swing of things. Probably gonna play a little bit more moving forward because I took about a week off, which is nice. It's always nice to take a week off and just get away from poker for a little bit. So that was always fun. But today went well. Ran super hot in the beginning, and things could have gotten a little bit better if that king didn't hit on the river, but oh well, that's fine. I just didn't know where I was, and there's some merit to shoving there on the turn since I'm gonna call a jam anyways, but just had no idea where he was because I just knew that ace king is the only hand that I beat in his 3-betting range. It was just so narrow, just so narrow. He's just always got a monster there, and I don't even think he has any, like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. Those are just my thoughts, whatever. But today went all right, 4 hours, and I was in the game for 300. That's the main thing I'm super proud of. What am I doing? Main thing that I'm super proud about, I was in the game for just one freaking buy-in. That doesn't happen ever. And we doubled up big time very early into the session. So, I mean, it was smooth sailings from there, and basically just kind of tossed around chips. But yeah, in for 300, out of the game for 660. So decent profit there today, $360. We're getting close. We are getting so close to the bankroll challenge now, close to that 10K mark. I think this session passes 9K for sure. So sitting around 9,200, if all goes well, I somehow win $800 in the next couple sessions. We're gonna play 510. Looking forward to that. I'm gonna figure out where I'm actually gonna play 510. Obviously want to choose the softest game around. Might be Twin River. It's not MGM, that's for damn sure, because it's uncapped, but maybe Encore just because it's also a smaller game. Who knows, but that's coming up soon, so be on the lookout for that. Super hyped. And anyways, thanks guys for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. connect with me on Instagram. I always post on there a ton. And that's really all I have to promote right now. Instagram, Facebook, my poker app, if you really want to check that out. It's really great action. And that's about it. Thanks. Peace.